Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Our first story is a classic example of the ever-prevalent problem with corporations today of not hiring enough people because they see them as operating costs to minimize instead of appreciating the value they bring. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with a turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Sit and look pretty instead of doing actual work. For the sake of clarity, I'm going to say I work in an industry which is similar to warehousing. Same logic in the grand scheme of things. In my branch and several surrounding branches, there are only 2 staff members to keep the place running, so we all have casual uniforms. Just a polo shirt and appropriate pants and footwear. I mainly do administration work and have a team member who works in the back end of things, but I'm capable and willing to jump outside when required of me. Examples of me needing to work in the back would be if we have a huge rush, or if I need to send my teammate to help at another branch or out on the road to collect stock and have to fill in for him while he's gone. It's a pretty good setup because working outside really breaks up the monotony of being stuck at a desk all day, and it's easy enough to do both parts of the job when I need to. Some genius in head office decided he wanted to change the uniform for any and all admin staff to something a little more corporate and dressy. I can only describe this uniform as a 3-piece suit made with the heaviest fabrics known to man. Suddenly, I've gone from wearing a polo shirt, which is comfortable and easy to move around in, to wearing a white, long-sleeved business shirt with a vest, jacket, and neckerchief. Complete with a skirt, stockings, and a slight heel, I straight up look like a flight attendant working in an industrial warehouse and can barely lift my arms high enough to hold my steering wheel on the drive to work. It was a poorly designed uniform, and I was so incredibly uncomfortable wearing it, I was very quick to voice my anger. I first mentioned how it's unfair, borderline cruel, to expect staff to wear such a thick and layered uniform when we live in Australia, particularly in a place known for our consistent high temperatures and harsh sun. I then asked how I would be expected to leave the desk to operate machinery and do heavy lifting in a suit, skirt, and heels. I was met with the promise that anyone working in admin and wearing a corporate uniform would not have to leave their desk to do any back-end work at all. I raised another concern, stating that we didn't have enough staff for them to make this particular promise and still maintain our quality of work and hit our deadlines, and was met with a strong guarantee that I would not have to do any physical work in my day-to-day operations. I was all but ordered to sit at the desk to look appealing for clients and never move from there. Okay then, no problem. From that point onwards, I followed their instructions. I never left my desk. There would suddenly be long wait times for orders and fulfillments because my team member was on the road on a job and there was no one on site to continue his work until he got back. If my team member called in sick, I would spend the day pushing back deadlines with clients, which affected our targets and our reputation. Funnily enough, my teammate only started getting sick because I had to have the office aircon on freezing temperatures so I wouldn't get heat stroke at my desk. I was honest with clients who had complaints and explained that I would usually step in to help to make sure their needs were met, but was specifically instructed not to anymore, and then redirected their complaints through to customer service in head office. After a few months of this, I was invited to a meeting with 3 of my direct managers and an HR representative. They were clearly upset about the drop in productivity and amount of complaints we were receiving. I let them all say their piece before reminding them I raised these concerns to them months ago and was merely following instructions given to me, which were abundantly clear that I was to take care of admin work at my desk and do nothing else. I let them know my hands were tied, so all I could do was look pretty and placate clients when we inevitably couldn't meet their needs as promised. I suggested hiring more warehousing staff to fill in the gaps left by the admin staff who were now chained to their desk by their uniform and unable to ease the pressure of the workload like we used to do. I could see that comment definitely hit them right where I wanted it to, and they couldn't argue with me for following their instructions, so I was told they would get back to me on a solution moving forward. Well, here I am at work 2 weeks later wearing my old polo shirt uniform. I was fully prepared to find another job if their solution wasn't reasonable, and maybe I'll still look to leave this place. But I'll take the win for now. Oh, this is gold. I can just imagine the cheap butt poly blend, poorly tailored monstrosity they made you wear, too. Bulk ordered in only 2 sizes, too large or too small, with the company logo on it so you can't wear it anywhere else, in that navy blue color that instantly looks dusty and faded as soon as you wash it. Just make sure they didn't take the cost out of your paycheck. And our second story. Just got fired for standing up for myself. I, early 20s female, am a full-time college student in plant science and worked in a small family-owned and struggling nursery. Basically, I was one of 2 part-time employees and worked alone most of the time, doing the job of what should be 5 different people. From hard physical labor to ringing up customers, doing designs and taking care of the plants and multiple-acre lot for minimum wage, while the owner would come in maybe a couple of times a week for 2 to 3 hours at a time and do next to nothing. Most of the time, he was at home relaxing and taking the day off, as he would always put it. He's also quick to anger, impulsive, and otherwise emotionally immature. I would have customers tell me that they would come in when I was working just so they didn't have to deal with him. Basically, you can see where I'm going with this. Today was busy as all hell, and I called him to ask if he was going to come in and if he would consider it, which I've done only this one time. Most of the time I just deal with it, mostly being because I couldn't watch the register and could tell customers were getting frustrated. He then proceeded to go off on me, saying that he's done it all by himself multiple times. He used to work bigger jobs, etc., and during this ramble, I said, "Boss, this is your business, and I'm a part-time employee in college." I could tell he didn't like that, LOL, but ultimately he says that he'll come in. He comes in an hour later and lets me off early for the day. Half an hour ago, I get a text saying that my help is no longer needed and to pick up my check. Thank Jesus, I'm free. I've been in the process of looking for other jobs, and I'm only worried about him trying to sabotage my hiring elsewhere if anyone calls him. I've never been fired before. Other than that, imagine thinking I, let alone anyone, would run your business for minimum wage while you reap the benefits. Get effed. Update. Not even an hour after I picked up my final check, he calls me begging me to come back. Nothing I ever do in life from now on will feel as good as when I got to say, "Nah, I'm okay," and hang up on his butt. On to bigger and better things. I've never understood that argument. When I used to be in your position, I dealt with more BS and I just dealt with it. Okay, cool. Now you're in a position where you can help out others dealing with that BS that your younger self was subjected to. Dealing with that many plants and large plots is a time-consuming, multi-person job, especially if you have to deal with customers. If he's done it before, then he fully knows the burden he's putting on our OP. And our last story. Fishing in the HOA-owned pond. Recently, a member of our oh-so-wonderful HOA board decided fishing is a cardinal sin. I've fished in the retainer pond in our community dozens of times over the past 5 years. We're original members to the neighborhood. No one's ever complained, and people have regularly fished in the pond with no issues. Out of nowhere, a no fishing sign popped up at the front of the neighborhood roughly a year ago. A few weeks ago, I was fishing and a woman approached me. She informed me that she was on the board for the HOA and that fishing's not allowed. I told her I'd lived in the neighborhood since it was built and no one had ever informed anyone about this rule or much less enforced it if it even existed. She claimed that the board had just voted it in unanimously and that it applies to everyone, resident or not. I asked to see proof of the rule being enacted and she refused, telling me that it's my responsibility as a resident to know the rules. I told her that we pay our HOA dues, so I'll fish until I'm shown that I can't. I got met with the classic, "You have X minutes to leave before we fine you X dollars and call the police." She also added that there will be an X dollar fine every time that she sees me fishing, regardless of if she tells me to stop or not. I ended up leaving because I didn't want to waste a police officer's time by making them respond to something so stupid. I let the situation go until I watched her try to run off a neighborhood couple and their children. We intervened and told them that she has no right to tell them to leave the common area. There was a rule against it and to fish on. The lady lost her crap and threatened us and the other couple with fines out of the butt. We have yet to be fined, but I'm fed up with this lady harassing our neighborhood and overstepping her boundaries. It needs to stop. I contacted the lawyer who incorporated our HOA and obtained the most recent CC&Rs. The relevant information I found is as follows, along with some other info. The retention pond and the area around it is HOA owned, and it's defined in the CC&Rs as common property dedicated to the neighborhood's homeowners and their invitees. CC&R state this common property includes the parts of people's yards that are on the edge of the pond and are maintained by the lawn care service the HOA pays to tend to the common area. She claimed that part of the reason we couldn't fish is because we were on private property. According to the above statements, we were not. Nowhere in the CC&Rs does it mention anything about fishing in the pond being restricted. The lawyer said that the document is the most recent version and that it had only been amended once. The amendment did not pertain to fishing like the lady claims the vote did. We have asked multiple residents and no one has ever been informed about a vote on the matter. No one recalls it being brought up in an HOA meeting, and no one has ever received mail stating that the rules have been amended. Residents have continued to be harassed since the two above incidents. The only people that are running residents out of the area are the 4 members of the board. May not be relevant, but coincidentally, 2 of the board members are violating rules I found in the CC&Rs. One keeps his boat on the street regularly, and the other has a garden that's visible from the street. I think both of the rules are ridiculous and shouldn't exist, but it just shows you how hypocritical these people are. I decided to show the board members' violations to the other residents and forced a vote to oust those members in favor of new board members. It all worked out, and there were no more such stupid rules in our HOA. It's important that the HOA be transparent, accountable, and responsive to residents' concerns. Your actions to challenge unfair rules and advocate for a more equitable governance structure demonstrate a proactive approach to community improvement. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.